The Ardennes Forest, December 44. This quiet section of the American front line is thinly manned by some 2,000 tired or green troops. Little did they realize that Hitler is about to launch his final offensive of the war, an ambitious attack to the Belgian Ardennes, with the leading force being Kampfgruppe Peiper. Peiper crossed into Belgium on the 16th of December 1944. Jochen Peiper led Kampfgruppe Peiper, a battle group drawn from the 1st SS-Panzer-Division. His task was to surge ahead of the German lines and reach the Meuse River, opening the gateway for the German attack on Antwerp. In this video, we will show you the entire route of the 1st SS Kampfgruppe Peiper. We will visit all known locations and drive the whole route, which is approximately 60 kilometers.
The Battle of Lanzerath Ridge was fought on December 16, 1944, the first day of the Battle of the Bulge during World War II, near the village of Lanzerath, Belgium, along the main route for the German advance on the north side of the operation. The US force consisted of 2 squadrons of 18 men in total, belonging to a reconnaissance platoon and 4 forward artillery observation against a German battalion of about 500 paratroopers. In a day-long confrontation, the American defenders killed dozens of Germans and delayed the advance of the entire 1st SS-Panzer-Division by nearly 20 hours, the spreadhead of the German 6th Panzer Army. This building, then known as Café Schulzen, served as temporary headquarters of the German Airborne Battalion, which had captured the intelligence and reconnaissance platoon of the 394th Infantry on the high ground overlooking the village. The Germans held their prisoners here in Café Schulzen prior to moving them into Germany. At midnight, on the 16th to the 17th December, SS Obersturmbannführer Jochen Peiper arrived here and immediately set about moving his column out of Losheim. Accompanied by men of the Parachute Battalion, Peiper's column began its advance in the direction of Buchholz station. Some of the most well-known photographs taken during the battle are those showing 3 dead GIs laying face down in the mud, as German soldiers try on the dead man's boots. Roger Forrigan will remember passing those dead Americans. There were several bodies laying in the road. It was hard to visualize that these were bodies because so many German vehicles had run over them. We tried to avoid walking over them. They were like pancakes, but the Germans made us walk over them. The 612th Tank Destroyer Battalion was positioned in front of Büllingen. They managed to disable some Panzerkampfwagen 6. Peiper also captured a fuel depot in Büllingen so that his tanks could continue. Not much later, he reached Malmedy. Around 12:30 on 17 December 1944, between noon and 1 p.m., the German spearhead approached the Baugnez crossroads, 2 miles southeast of Malmedy. An American convoy of about 30 vehicles mainly elements of B Battery of the American 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion, was negating the crossroads and turning right towards Lucknerville and Saint-Fit. The spearhead of Peiper's group spotted the American convoy and opened fire, immobilizing the first and last vehicle of the column and forcing it to halt. Armed with only rifles and other small arms, the Americans surrendered to the German task force. The armored column led by Peiper continued west towards Lucknerville. The German troops left behind assembled the American prisoners in a field along with other prisoners captured early that day. Many of the survivors testified that about 120 troops were standing in the field when, for unknown reasons, the SS troops suddenly opened fire with machine guns on the prisoners. As soon as the SS machine gunners opened fire, the POWs panicked. Some tried to flee, but most were shot where they stood. Some dropped to the ground and pretended to be dead. The SS troops walked among the bodies and shot who appeared to be alive. A few seek shelter in a cafe in the crossroads. The SS soldiers set fire to the building and shot any who tried to escape. Ten minutes before the Germans entered Lucknerville, the American staff had left the hotel. Behind the hotel, 8 American soldiers were shot by the SS. The retreating 9th Armored Division managed to take out one more Panther tank before heading to Saint-Fit. They were just past the Kaiserbaracke intersection when Peiper units arrived there. Colonel Mark de Veen, coming from the right with his staff car, ran into the German column. His car was shot at and disabled. De Veen and 2 other officers escaped on foot. Here where the monument stands, unknown SS-men took 12 American prisoners and 3 local civilians and murdered them in cold blood. Later, as the battle went to a close, local villagers searching for the missing civilians discovered the bodies. The GIs lay where the monument now stands, and the civilians across the trail where a wooden branch marks the spot. The murdered soldiers were men of the Company A, 27th Armored Infantry Battalion of the 9th Armored Division. This unit would earn itself a place in history a few months later when under Captain Karl Timmerman it captured the Ludendorff Bridge over the Rhine River at Remagen. The city of Stavelot was the scene of severe fighting. From December 18 till 20, 1944, Peiper's battle group murdered more than 100 civilians, including women and children, as well as American prisoners of war. The stone bridge across the river in the town was still intact. It was the only bridge for several miles. A bridge the Germans needed to continue their offensive. If the Germans could capture a bridge intact at Stavelot and hold it, their armed units could cross. They might then run through the hastily defended areas north of the Ambleve River, and their opportunities use of this bridge could result in the capture of Liège and Antwerp, their initial objective, but the US troops were able to destroy the bridge. Tiger 222 can be seen on the far left, covered in snow. In this picture it is also possible to see the bridge as well. You saw the long tube of the Tiger 88mm gun emerge from behind the last building. The M10 gunner must have been tracking the tank with his telescopic sights, for as the Tiger cleared the building, the M10 fired an armor-piercing round which penetrated the armor on the right side above the track, about 14 inches under the turret. The Tiger stopped in its tracks. Suspiciously, the tank did not burn. In the surrounding area you can still find traces of war, like in and around this house. Just after Peiper crossed the Ambleve on the in-tank bridge and climbed the hill toward Cheneux, American fighter bombers attacked his column during a 2-hour period of clear weather. The bombing at Cheneux forced the Germans to take cover and disable the Panther that blocked the road. Peiper jumped out of SS Stoumont and Diefenthal's half-track and sought shelter in an old bunker beside the road, from which he emerged soaked in muddy water. None of the Tigers were damaged, but Kalinowski was wounded in the arm. One of the American P-47s was shot down, perhaps by a rubble ring. The half-timbered house between the police station and the church existed in 1944 and features prominently in the film and photographs taken by German combat photographers during the Battle of Stoumont. In this film, German paratroopers are clearly seen setting up a machine gun in the then small field where now the police station stands. In that same film, the SS Sturmbannführer Werner Putschke can be seen turning around to pick up a disabled Panzerfaust anti-tank weapon. Around 14:30 on 19 December, the defending Americans knocked out Peiper's 3 lead tanks there. Then Peiper ordered a withdrawal to Stoumont. By the night of the 21st December, it had become evident to Peiper that he must withdraw from Stoumont and concentrate the remains of his depleted Kampfgruppe in and around Gleize. Before first light on 22nd December, he ordered a withdrawal, taking out his walking wounded but leaving about 8 badly wounded men and several American prisoners in the care of German medical NCOs and 2 American medics. With tank support and tremendous artillery barrage, men of the 119th Infantry recaptured Stoumont from a small SS regard later that day. By the night of the 21st December, it had become evident to Peiper that he must withdraw from Stoumont and concentrate the remains of his depleted Kampfgruppe in and around Gleize. Peiper's armor ran out of fuel and he was forced to the defensive. 6 King Tigers made it to Gleize, Peiper's position number 213 and 221. Near the village church, powerful 88mm guns covering approaches to the village from the east and southeast awaited an emergency airdrop of fuel by the Luftwaffe, but the drop must have accidentally hit the US lines. On the 22nd of December, Kampfgruppe Peiper 213 and 221 engaged American Sherman tanks at a range of about 2,000 yards. They scored many hits, knocking out several American tanks, but the Shermans concentrated all their fire to the 2 German tank. SS-Leutnant 213 had his front third of the gun blew off, while SS Second Lieutenant Hunter's 221 received damage to his reversing mechanism. Both tanks were abandoned by their crew. Peiper eventually abandoned his vehicles, and he and his men walked 32 kilometers through the snow back to the German lines. We also went uphill where some German half-tracks were stationed during the battle. We managed to find some armor plates, probably belonging to the half-tracks from Kampfgruppe Peipers.